Hello, critical thinkers. Unfortunately, we have another individual dying at the hands of correction officers this past weekend. This occurred at Midstate Correctional Facility. The New York Times has the exclusive interviewing 9 incarcerated individuals who witnessed the senseless beating of Messiah Nantwi. I'm covering the article today. Stay tuned, watch to the end. The New York Times. New York State police investigate death of another inmate at Upstate prison. 11 correctional workers were placed on leave after a 22-year-old inmate at Midstate Correctional Facility died. Inmate said he was viciously beaten by prison guards. By Jan Ransom. The state police are investigating the death of a prisoner over the weekend in a facility near the Central New York prison where another inmate was fatally beaten by guards in December. And this article is making reference to the other inmate that was fatally beaten, in case you don't know, was Robert Brooks. Back to the article. Prison officials said on Saturday that an inmate at Midstate Correctional Facility, a medium security prison in Marcy, New York, near Utica, was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital earlier in the day. Officials released no additional details about the circumstances surrounding his death, but 9 prisoners interviewed by the New York Times on Sunday, 7 of whom agreed to have their names used, said the inmate had been brutally beaten by correction officers. Pause. Think about this. You have 9 incarcerated individuals who were interviewed by the New York Times. Seven of them agreed to have their names published. That's big because incarcerated individuals typically face retaliation. So the fact that they're allowing their name to be used in the article is huge. Continuing on with the article. Their accounts could not be independently confirmed, and Thomas Maley, a prison spokesperson, said the death was under investigation. 11 correction staff members involved in the incident were placed on administrative leave while the investigation proceeds, Mr. Maley said. A spokesperson for the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, said her office was conducting a preliminary assessment of the death. Deaths that appear to be from other than natural causes or a known medical condition are investigated by the Office of the Attorney General, the New York State Police, and the State Corrections Department Office of Special Investigations, Mr. Maley said. Yes, pause. Yes, we do know that the office of Letitia James does their own investigation. What I fear, what a lot of people fear, is that her office is going to recuse themselves again because guess what? The officers involved have civil cases that they're being represented on. Back to the article. A spokesperson for Kathy Hochul did not respond to requests for comment on Sunday, and a spokesperson for the Correction Officers Union said he had no information about the death. Officials did not release the inmate's name, but his father confirmed on Monday that the man who died was Messiah Nantwi, 22. Mr. Nantwi had entered custody in May and was serving a 5-year sentence for second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, according to official records. His death followed that of another prisoner, 43-year-old Robert Brooks, who died on December 9th at Marcy Correctional Facility across the street from Midstate. 10 officers have been criminally charged in Mr. Brooks' death, 6 of them with murder after they were captured on body-worn cameras beating and choking him in the infirmary. Pause. One thing I want everyone to do right now, take out your cell phones, okay? Take out your cell phones and put March 31st in your calendars. That's going to be a very important news day. The defendants in the Robert Brooks murder appear in court for pretrial motion. So everyone, please put a reminder on your calendar, March 31st, to check the news, check my channel, or check another channel that you know is covering the Robert Brooks death. Back to the article. The latest fatality comes amid a mounting crisis in New York State prison system, where wildcat strikes by thousands of correction officers are expected to enter a third week. It is also the fifth death in the prison system since the strikes began. At least one of the deaths was a suicide. I'm going to pause it for a quick second. So, just clarification, Governor Kathy Hochul had reached a tentative agreement with the union. The correctional officers continue to strike. As of now, correctional officers are being terminated from their positions for being AWOL for 11 straight days. Back to the article. Corrections officers at nearly all of the state's 42 prisons, including Mid-State, have been on strike since February 17th without the backing of their union and in defiance of a judge's order to protest what they say are dangerous working conditions, severe staffing shortages, and forced overtime. The state's corrections commissioner, Daniel F. Marticello III, announced on X that he was giving the officers until Monday to return to work. Some prisoners' rights advocates have accused officers of engaging in the strikes to try to distract attention from the beating death of Mr. Brooks. Pause. In my opinion, I also believe that this is a major distraction from the Robert Brooks indictments. Back to the article. Ms. Hochul ordered thousands of National Guard soldiers deployed to replace the prison officers. The death at Mid-State occurred on Saturday morning as members of the National Guard were preparing to conduct a security check in a housing area to make sure all of the prisoners were accounted for, said the 9 prisoners interviewed by the Times who described the death in unusually graphic detail. Pause. I truly want to see docs try to undermine this testimony, try to discredit it, because here we have 9 eyewitnesses stating what they saw. Back to the article. Inmates, many of whom fear retaliation by prison guards, are often reluctant to speak out about allegations of brutality behind bars. Pause. What you will find is that those individuals who file complaints suffer retaliation. Many individuals have spoken to me directly and personally, many of whom, some of whom I've made videos here on this channel, have indicated they've complained, they've been retaliated against. So many just fear and don't lodge any complaints because you know you'll be visited by a correction officer who may beat you senseless. Back to the article. Mr. Nantwi, they said, became upset when the count was set to begin and left for the shower area of the dorm, where he could be heard crying. One prisoner, Rodney Richards, said Mr. Nantwi appeared to be having a disagreement with the National Guard members who were filling in for strike officers and had refused to go to his cubicle. Several prisoners said he had stopped taking his psychiatric medications. In response, the Guard members alerted a group of correction officers known as the Correctional Emergency Response Team, the prisoners said, noting that anywhere from 7 to 15 officers responded, some already wielding their batons. Jordan McGlynn, who said his cubicle was near Mr. Nantwi's, said he could hear the blows landing on his body. He was screaming, Mr. McGlynn said, 26. I kept hearing, stop resisting. And at one point, you can just hear something being hit. I'm going to pause it for a second. This is another common common piece of information that we hear is that when correction officers are beating individuals, they are saying, stop resisting, when in fact, the person is not resisting. Back to the article. Another prisoner, Aaron Perry, 34, said Nantwi had begged the prison guards to stop beating him. He said, I didn't do anything, Mr. Perry recalled. You're really hurting me. Stop. Some of the prisoners said the responding officers did not appear to be wearing body-worn cameras. Others said a few of the officers had them, but they were turned off. 4 of the prisoners interviewed said they saw a corrections sergeant with either a handheld or body-worn camera, but that he was facing away from the attack. Pause. There's no way that we could be going through this again. In light of everything that happened with Robert Brooks, other incarcerated individuals being beaten and murdered, all of them should have had their body-worn cameras on. And I did a video yesterday sitting in my car, ranting about how Kathy Hochul is putting millions of dollars into body-worn cameras, but the problem is the enforcement. There's no enforcement. There has to be accountability, and there seems to be zero accountability across the board. And truly, we the people have to hold these individuals accountable. Back to the article. Members of the National Guard who do not wear body cameras stood by looking on, prisoners said. None intervened. The New York National Guard did not respond to a request for comment on Sunday. Just pause. A quick comment about the National Guard not intervening. My belief is that most likely, again, I'm speculating, they may have been told if there is an interaction between the CERT team, between officers who are employed by docs, not to intervene and to stand down. That's just a guess. Back to the article. After the beating, the prisoner said Mr. Nantwi, who had been handcuffed and shackled, was dragged down the hall and down a flight of stairs, his face bloodied and swollen. Mr. Richards said Mr. Nantwi was not recognizable. One of the prisoners, Michael Hummel Parker, 32, said Mr. Nantwi was making gurgling noises, a sign, he said, that he could not breathe. Jared Crosby, 46, another inmate, said he could see from his cell window either officers or medical workers giving Mr. Nantwi CPR inside an ambulance. Inside the housing area, inmates were ordered to clean up the blood, they said. A bloodied mop and Mr. Nantwi's belongings were removed from the facility, the prisoner said. Within hours, investigators were interviewing witnesses. Mr. Richards, 43, said the beating he witnessed had left him uneasy. I fear for my life, he said. I don't know what's going to happen. If you found value in this video, please like the video, comment below on the video, share the video, and if you believe I've earned it, please subscribe to the channel. My goal is to give you honest and direct feedback and dig deeper than what the mainstream media is telling you. Take care, God bless, and see you next time.